I am Gregorio Luke, and I'm discussing in this series different cultural and artistic experiences that have shaped me and have given my life a sense of purpose and meaning. And of all of them, I would say that perhaps the most important is the early exposure to literature that my mother gave me. Uh, Reading these and other books have been of vital importance for me. And now that I am a father, I have tried to recreate with my own kids these reading experiences that I experienced as a child. First of all, my mother stayed away from the classic children's literature, those terrible tales of Christian Andersen that read more like horror stories. I don't think you can find something more sadistic than Hansel and Gretel, for example, and all these tales of fear and of violence. I also was a little intimidated by the ambience of the Dr. Seuss books. So my mother first brought me to books designed by artists that were her friends, like this great painter called Jose Arguello. Unfortunately, I think he's out of print, but these lovely illustrations that he did were an early inspiration for me. And then we also read books that had to do with mythical characters and fables. The idea of the confrontation of David with Goliath, or of Pegasus, this winged horse. But perhaps of the first books that my mother read to me, the one that left the most profound mark of pleasure was Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh just was a delight. All of the adventures of Winnie that I can still remember, even though it's a book that was read to me more than 50 years ago. But I still remember Piglet and Eeyore and the Heffalump and the adventure to the North Pole and so many other wonderful tales when Winnie tries to get to the honey and tries to disguise himself as a balloon and covers himself with mud, and so many other stories. This book, for me, was a source of wonder and fun, with none of the bitter aftertaste that we so many times find in children's literature. Another important book for me to read was this English book. This is a series of books on Noddy. Unfortunately, they're out of print, but we read every one of them, and they have also bring to me great memories. I would also, here's other examples of books that deeply captivated my imagination, like this one, The Wind and the Willows, with real characters that do inexplicable things, like Mr. Toad and his interest in speed and danger. Others left me puzzled, like The Phantom Toll Booth. Strange, interesting worlds. And even a sense of a certain sadness in books like The Little Prince, or Charlotte's Web. And I still remember the anxiety of this idea that the spider is sacrificing herself for others. Now, later on, my mother read to me many adventure books that were also crucial in my development. I still remember very fondly Robin Hood and the idea of a group of people that come together, and each one has different virtues. Robin and Little John and all the different characters that form his party. Or fascinating stories like the Count of Monte Cristo, that is imprisoned and finds a communication with somebody that reveals to him the existence of this magnificent treasure, and he escapes. Others are less well known, but like this one of the Coral Island, about three teenagers in an abandoned island, or the great book Kidnapped by Robert Louis Stevenson, that even though it has an English that was much more advanced than what I was accustomed to, fascinated me. Also the Robinson Crusoe, and how he practically reinvents civilization in an island, and his relationship with Friday, or Ben-Hur. I read the book before I saw the movie, and it allowed me to imagine life in the time of Jesus. Others books that thrilled me were certainly those of Alexander Dumas, particularly The Three Musketeers, and then The Man in the Iron Mask, and that is in some ways a continuation of The Three Musketeers. And then certainly books that describe the ocean, books like Jules Verne, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, or Moby Dick. Another milestone for me, and a book that my mother read to me and I have read to my son Andres, so much that he has even memorized parts of it, is the great series of Narnia. It's fabulous. I recommend this book to every one of you, from The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, or The Extraordinary Silver Chair, or The Tragic Last Battle, or The Heroic Prince Caspian. And at my early youth, was also transformed by Tom Sawyer, and especially Huckleberry Finn. I can close my eyes and I can see Huckleberry in this raft when with all those incidents that happen, like when the false aristocrats join them, and the show that they do, and also that passage that to me has always symbolized the most anti-racist of all acts. The moment when Huckleberry is troubled and doesn't know if he should denounce Jim because he was a runaway slave, and they said that he would be condemned if he did it. And he decides against it, and he says, even if I rot in hell. So he chooses for his friendship, in spite of what the horrible society that endorsed slavery recommended. And then also crucial in my development was Sherlock Holmes and the use of intelligence to solve problems. But more importantly, I would say, Gabriel Garcia Marquez, 100 Years of Solitude. I had the fortune to be able to know this book in Spanish in its original version. And 100 Years of Solitude gave me a vision of the world, gave me a vision of a Latin American family, of the evolution of time. And also, crucial in my education, in my future, would be the autobiography of Malcolm X. This book, to me, gave me a sense of the importance of the spoken word. When Malcolm is imprisoned and learns to speak again and to copy an entire dictionary and discovers the power of the spoken word. All of these books and others have stayed with me all of my life. And now I read them to my children, and I encourage you to read or reread them, and if you have kids, to share them and to read to them every night. It is the best way, not just to tighten a bond between you and your kids, but also of planting the seeds of ideas and creativity that will remain with you for the rest of your life. Thank you.